Hello, and welcome to X Trends. Today's topic is Turkey and Syria relations. It is clear that we are now in very critical times. Ever since 2015 and the hostile moves from Turkey against Russia, which translated to Turkey's malicious position in the war on Syria. This war almost occurred being a Turkish war. Of course, it is an American war, a global war, but if it were not for Turkey, America would not have been able to provide the necessary conditions for sustainability, expansion, and momentum in this war. In fact, Turkey behaved as if it was its war. Whether in terms of its sponsorship of the Muslim Brotherhood or later, to al-Nusra, ISIS, and other terrorist groups in hopes of geographical ambitious expansions in Syria. Turkey's geographical pretensions reaches Aleppo, and not just to the Idlib region. The dream of the Ottoman Empire is all intertwined in the Turkish political and strategic mind, so they created a peculiar scenario for Turkey to enter the war, but NATO abandoned its protection in the case of confrontation with Russia because they don't want to be involved in a war with them. The Battle of Aleppo was a decisive battle. Turkey lost it, and it had two choices. Either you go to a bone-breaking war with Russia and Iran, and they know that it is beyond their capacity, and that NATO will not back them, or retreat. So they retreated but did not change their position, meaning they retreated and stopped at the line controlling northwest Syria, and then maneuvering and creating a deception and talking about finding a political solution and cooperation, but they didn't do anything in reality and stayed occupying the region. The last few months, there have been a series of transformations. The first is the loss of Erdoğan's party in the local elections. He lost the three major cities Ankara, Istanbul, and Izmir, not just the mayors, but the majority of its council members. In the past, the Republican People's Party had the presidency, but not the majority of the members of the municipal council. Second, the advance by a clear percentage for the Republican People's Party in obtaining the majority. This transformation makes the Justice and Development Party in a situation, or put Erdoğan in a situation to search for how to restore his leadership, because in the end it's power what matters to him, and if it is shaken in parliament and municipally, it is vulnerable for a presidential shakeup as well. The restoration has before it the economic file, and without a doubt. He also has what the election's outcome has said, was that there's the new welfare party that won 7% that was not there before. This 7% came from the share of the Justice and Development Party. The difference between Welfare Party and the Justice and Development Party is not economically or ideological, because they are both Islamic and the Republican People's Party is a secular party. So what's the difference? The difference is the new Welfare Party was calling for positions more clearly on the Gaza war and being on the side of the resistance, and blames the Justice and Development Party for being hypocritical towards Israel and America. As we can see, the Israeli embassy remained and relations remained. Despite all the political and media talk that Erdoğan says from time to time on his stance, knowing that at the beginning of the Al-Aqsa flood, he took a disgraceful position. It is shameful to talk about equality among the resistance and the occupation entity, and he's very sad because of the crisis of civilian casualties. He condemns the killing civilians on both sides of the conflict and statements from this type. Choosing the path of resistance means approaching and getting closer to Iran as a head of the axis of resistance, even though he tried to get close to Hamas, so far as calling the Hamas leadership and issuing statements, but didn't change anything in political positions. The second thing that changed this is what happened in the dispute between Iran and America and Israel. This is the America that failed Erdoğan when requesting NATO support in confronting Russia. This is the same America who let Saudi Arabia down when it requested intervention after the Aramco attacks. The Americans said, "We do not want a war." The same one that brought its might to the region to defend Israel. That's the first slap in the face of Saudi Arabia and Turkey, and that you are worthless, you are by name allies. The only ally who the U.S. will defend is Israel. This means it's the Americans that are the ones who failed you. It defended Israel, which was helpless in the face of Iran. As Biden said, Israel would have been destroyed by the Iranian response. And when America saw the severity of the Iranian response, they told Israel, do not respond to the Iranian attack, because Iran said that its second response would be more severe. And the Americans understand that. If the U.S. helps Israel in responding, all U.S. bases, all fleets, all its interests in the region are its target. Also, all the countries that provide facilities will also be targets. So America recedes, and now it's deterred by Iran, which makes room for Iran to expand in the region as a regional power. This means a decline in the hopes of Turkey emerging as the main regional power. This means that Turkey has been dealt 3 major blows. So how can this be addressed? How can this be rectified? So once again it's to go east, that you have no place in the West. Iran is a rising power because it embraced the issues of the resistance, it faced them and it triumphed, and therefore Turkey must take a more clear position in approaching the axis of resistance. The third topic is the Ukrainian war, whom Erdoğan was ambiguous about his stance either with Russia or Ukraine. He is manipulating the stance, he is playing a malicious role, he acts as if he is a friend to Russia, then acts as if he is a friend of Ukraine. That he is with the Americans and not with sanctions against Russia. Of course, Russia kept relations ongoing for his anti-sanction stance, but they know his support to Ukraine, from drones to facilitations in the Black Sea and grain deals. So now Russia is advancing in the war, and the West is retreating. Ukraine is facing major changes in the course of the war. Therefore, Erdoğan must adapt from now on with the next stage, and not only the next stage of Russia's rise after the war, but also with the European scene. We began to see its changes in the parliamentary elections of the European Union, which brought the majority to the right wing, as the primary seats in the Union and the right-wing extremists are the ones who want to expel Muslims from Europe. Starting by the Turks, if we are talking about, for example, about Germany, the European scene will change and the Russians will triumph the Europeans. This new leadership by Russia, China, and Iran, Turkey will have a seat in if it makes the right decisions. For Turkish to gain access to this position is by starting with Syria because it's the main concern for Russia and Iran. Turkey always has been on the edge with Russia and Iran. It's neither considered an ally or as an enemy based on its positions. If it needs to be considered as an ally, they would need to start with talking to Syrian government and negotiating with President Assad, who declared comprehensive red lines that in order to start negotiations with Turkey, they first must retreat from all Syrian territories and recognize the sovereignty of the Syrian government. Otherwise, there's no talks. Erdoğan stalled as much as he can, but now the time has come to make a decision. There are many indicators from Erdoğan's words about the dangers of an election to be held by the Assad movement on the 10th of July, 2024. That is, for local councils, and he hopes that the Syrian state does not legitimize it, that this is normal and acceptable. Second, the Turkish Minister of Defense talks about the readiness to withdraw from Syria if it guarantees securing the Turkish border from the Syrian side. There's also talks about a political solution and cooperation to find the political solution from the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. The most important indicator is that the envoy of the Russian president, headed by Alexander Lavrentiev, was in Damascus and met with President Assad, and after the meeting, the official news agency SANA came out confirming this. That there is an initiative for Syrian-Turkish Reconciliation, and that this initiative appears it's Russian and Iranian. Because Lavrentiev too, he mentioned about allies taking initiatives for talks. If he's talking only about himself, he would have said, us. But he mentioned, we are in talks. So he's pointing for Iranian role in this as well. President Assad stated, SANA agency quoted him as talking about openness and positivity on the ongoing initiatives under their own sovereignty. In the fight against terrorism, Lavrentiev says there is an opportunity now that was not available before. Therefore, in the upcoming summit of leaders of the Shanghai Group, where it includes Russia, China, India, Iran, and Turkey, and on the summit sideline, there's a meeting between President Putin and President Erdoğan. This means that it will be on the agenda between them, the Syrian-Turkish Reconciliation file, announcing a Turkish commitment to withdraw from Syria. This has major repercussions, meaning this will change the political geography in the region, because since the year 2014 and 2015 and before that in 2011, Syria experienced a decline, but we are now in a different stage. That will change the Turkish position, it will affect the American positions, and also it will affect the Kurdish positions. And therefore it will mean the unity of Syria and the withdrawal of American forces from it, along with the removal of sanctions imposed on it. Means a new phase for the axis of resistance. It is a new stage if the war is continuing in Gaza, and thus it creates a qualitative transformation. This reconciliation is no longer just a hypothesis, a prediction or expectation. It is a path that appears to have been taken. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos.